So with those comments, I'll turn now to our first council member on the lights, Councilmember Marti Emerald.
Thank you very much, and thank you for those introductory comments. We did work, it was a very difficult process just to get approval for a task force, and then to bring members of the community together and come up with a list of recommendations that ultimately made their way here to the City Council. And I know the public safety ordinance, undisputed, that's still sitting there waiting to be implemented in conjunction with a zoning ordinance. And so I hope we can come up with one as well, because we must make a commitment to compassionate use. This debate is over in California. And there are scientifically proven examples of marijuana being very effective for people with all sorts of illnesses, and so that's not even an issue that we should be debating at this point. It's about where do we allow storefronts if we're going to, and the state law doesn't necessarily guarantee that the storefronts, but if we're going to have them. Let's be prudent. Let's find a balance. And I'll be honest with you now, my district has changed since that original ordinance was approved and then repealed. And by the way, I did not vote to repeal it. I said, fine, let's put it on the ballot and see what the people of San Diego have to say. But I have a new district now, the new District 9. And my constituents are very much against having these storefronts because there are so many kids in the community, and we are struggling with drug and alcohol abuse, gangs, all kinds of crime, and we want to protect our kids. So I'm going to be sensitive to my constituents on this, and that's why I would prefer to take a more conservative approach to where those storefronts ought to be, and then offer whatever support we can to that process of collectives and the co-ops and the delivery services. So I just want you to know where I'm coming from, that we have to, I think we need to offer that compassionate use and support it, but at the same time find a balance for our neighborhoods. And we do need some direction, as Mr. Lake was saying, clear direction, because more rogue shops are going to be popping up. More will be happening that we don't know about and that we play catch-up with. And because of that, I want to ask the city attorney very briefly. We have a list of shops that have opened. We don't have down the road. That's what we do. What's the approach we take with these shops that I believe have flaunted the city's codes?
Well, the city doesn't have a zone in which they're legal. So any dispensary operating in the city is not operating legally. We took that position in our cases. And there's about 100 of them that we were able to get injunctions and closures because the court did agree with us that absent a zoning ordinance allowing them somewhere, they're all not appropriate. I will say, however, that under our law, the mayor has basically manages or supervises the SDPD as well as Neighborhood Code Compliance Division. Our office does not initiate enforcement without investigative report of either the police department or Neighborhood Code Compliance Department. So we have not received any referrals from those two entities since January. When we, as you may recall, our office was involved in the task force and helping to put together an ordinance, and Mary Noesca represented our office for a long number of time. And during that period of time, the city chose to kind of hold off on enforcement. And there was a proliferation of dispensaries during that period of time. When the ordinance was adopted by the City Council and then rescinded, we had a large number of ordinances in the city. The San Diego Police Department chief came to our office along with Neighborhood Code Compliance Department and said, "You're going to get a lot of cases because we can't allow the proliferation." That's when we began our enforcement action. We are willing to do that, but we don't initiate that. There were some comments that we went running to the U.S. Attorney. No, we enforced our zoning laws. We're prepared to do that again, but it's only initiated by either Neighborhood Code Compliance or San Diego Police Department, would have not referred us cases.
So what I would ask is perhaps the mayor's office. We do have a list of these stores that have opened, and I would ask that we contact the operators of those stores and ask them to cease and desist until we have an opportunity to write a new ordinance and get that clear direction that everybody is asking for. I think that will show a certain amount of cooperation and fair dealing with this process. And if the people who operate these stores are sincere about this being an open process, wanting to play by a certain set of rules, let's start out clean by closing their doors until we do have an ordinance and some clear direction. And by the way, on enforcement, I do have an email from the U.S. Attorney's Office, and while they don't say that they're going to be going in and closing down shops, Laura Duffy does say that she fully intends to enforce federal law. So these issues aren't over. I think that there really is a need to move quickly, and that's why I'd like to offer a motion this evening on this issue, and that would be to essentially dust off the ordinance that we approved a couple of years back and ask the city attorney to use that as the template for a new ordinance. And of course, there will be give and take on where these shops can be, but I think it's a good place to start, and we may as well not reinvent the wheel. I would ask that there be revisions about the intent of the section regarding where planned district zone cooperatives can be located, and specifically to each planned district. A definition of youth-serving facilities to be more specific. Revise the definition of schools per the currently proposed draft. Revise the sensitive use now listed as child care facilities to child care centers. Have at least a 100-foot buffer from residential zones. And as Mr. Armley suggested, a 1,000-foot distance from schools and other sensitive locations, and 1,000 feet between medical marijuana stores. And then with regard to the public safety element, identify which city department or departments would be responsible for issuing a permit to medical marijuana cooperatives under the public safety ordinance and enforcing its provision. Develop a fee structure for full cost recovery, of the issuance and enforcement of public safety permit for approval by council. And finally, ask the city attorney to provide the council with its legal options regarding fees and or taxes on medical marijuana above and beyond cost recovery. I've got this listed so you don't have to scribble too quickly, but this is a great start. We worked very, very hard for a couple of years. We have done nothing but open doors to invite public comment. And I would like us to take the ordinance that was drafted and approved by this council before and see how we can improve on it. Again, find some middle ground without putting neighborhoods and, young people at risk. So that would be my motion going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emerald. Appreciate you putting that in writing, and we can work with the clerk's office to make sure that gets on the board if you get a second. We'll go now to... Is there a second? I haven't heard one yet. Ms. Leitner is next on the lights.
Okay.
Mr. Goldsmith, did you want to say?
Oh, I'm just wondering if there's a second. I do have one clarification on the written part of this that I think would help. Just to my lawyer's outlook would want to know this. But if there is there a second?
There may be one.
Okay. The request having to do with identifying the department who will be responsible for issuing the permits and developing this fee structure is directed to the mayor, not to the city attorney. That's appropriate. That's not all right. But just to clarify that.
Thank you, Mr. Goldsmith.